Hello, everyone, and welcome to This Week in Hospitality Marketing, live show number 400. Yes, my venue has changed once again. Welcome to the cool and brisk but beautiful Netherlands in Europe. Where we were for a while, and so the show will be broadcast from here. And ironically, this is show 400. It's not a made up number. We're actually every week, no matter where we are in the world, be it China, Australia, Canada, the US, the Caribbean, Europe, whenever the show is warranted to have it at 11:30 a.m. Eastern US time on Fridays, we are here. So for that, show 400 is from the Netherlands. Thank you so much for joining me live. For those that are watching us on our YouTube channel, excuse me, not our YouTube channel, but our Roku channel, our Amazon TV channel, our Google TV channel, and our Samsung and Apple, Google, Amazon. Missing one. Roku. I think we got them all. Anyways, and also simulcasted on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, variety of pages and channels all around the world. We're in 209 countries on our TV channel, and we simulcast in 39 countries on social media. We're also on Twitch if you use your Gamebox PS5 or Microsoft One, PlayStation. We're on Twitch. So now that we've announced where we are, obviously, because you're watching us, let's talk a little bit about today's topic. Our topic today doesn't want to be on a bandwagon. As a matter of fact, the context of our conversation is literally the bandwagon that exists right now, and that is AI. So the topic today is the AI bandwagon. Same wheel, different topic. Um, I'm not discrediting the fact that what is happening with augmented reality, yes, but artificial intelligence and its usage is ChatGPT in particular, um, and the other platforms that are rolling out from Google and everyone else aren't society changing. As a matter of fact, ChatGPT was the fastest adopted software in history being recorded, where it received up to 100 million users in less than 60 days when ChatGPT 4 first came out. ChatGPT 3 was before that, but ChatGPT 4 really was the accelerant to that process. Um, we are always, especially in the world of marketing, hospitality marketing being our conversational topic, always looking at what influence this has both on our industry and the ability for us to market our industry. And this is going to have a profound change in the modalities of what we do. We've discussed at great lengths the tools and the adaptive tools that we are now able to use that have a AI presence to them. Um, SEO development tools that now have an AI component to optimize the organic content that we're creating. Um, we're seeing tools that are able to better evaluate data for us by accumulating data based on a much more smarter algorithm than what was just a mechanical process of steps and flow, machine learning aspects of it. So AI has already introduced itself, and we'll be actually on some of the tools today that we're going to be talking about on our podcast number 400. Um, when we recap the show, we'll also be talking about tools related to actual functional AI tools in use for specific tasks like SEO, like SEM, content generation in general, ad generation in general, image generation, video generation. There are tools that have become very, very interesting. Um, but I want to get onto the whole AI bandwagon issue discussion. We are fixated on a representation, a visual representation or discussion based representation of what we think the future is. We just lived through everybody putting on augmented reality, which is why it was stuck in my head, headsets, Quest 2s in particular, as the vision of the future. It was either used to downplay the vision of the future or to enhance the fact that the business that was using it in their advertisement was connected to the future by simply putting on a headset of VR reality. Um, and before that, it was blockchain and crypto. Um, these buzzwords float around. We get so many people that present, well, this is what AI's future is going to be, and this is what this is going to do for your business. Even we're discussing it. The reality is, there's a lot of people, very smart people, that are looking at the impact of this in our society, and they are shrugging their shoulders as to the true overall impact. As a matter of fact, in the news as of right now, the largest developers of AI are collaboratively getting together, most of them, and talking about maybe we should pause a minute, at least 6 months in the development phase of all this. Stop being competitive about who has the next best one of AI version X coming out. And let's pause for a moment because we aren't even understanding how AI is learning. We've built something that is ahead of us. We're getting ahead of our skis, so to speak, in the usages of AI. Um, so there's a very tangible, palatable, because one of the things about this, when we talk about tools and usages in our market, is that we're talking about how we are still seeing how we do our business. We're seeing that people will still use websites. They'll still interact with the websites that we intended. They'll still see ads that we put in front of them and the targeting that we create to put them in front of them and so forth. And we're looking at um, how AI is going to augment that. Similar, if you want to look at an analogy, which I'm infinitely famous for creating, when cars first came out, it was seen as to how is that going to work with horse buggies? How are they going to share the road? Um, how are they going to be working in collaboration with horse buggies? And little did anybody really understand that that meant there was not going to be any more horse buggies. That it was a displacement completely, a recreation of what the function was of something else that was considered a mainstay. You have to consider that prior to cars being introduced into our society, horses and anything that required that kind of mobility and so forth was a part of our entire history of humanity. We used something to help us with the processes that we were not physically able to do, and horses and oxen and so forth were those means and modalities. We had the Industrial Revolution where it was able to create and manufacture things and have bigger ways of lifting and moving stuff, but it was based on the same principles of pulleys and levers, and either horses and oxen pulled it or steam powered engines created it, but the modalities were still there. We're still looking at augmented reality in the same lens as our society is, for the same reason. We're looking at augmented reality and saying, well, how is that going to change me finding websites? How is it going to change me finding the product that I'm looking for? Already, AI is changing the very concept of how we're looking at things. I keep seeing these prompt lists because you're only as good as the question you ask. And you can only ask a question if you understand the parameters of what you can ask about. And a lot of people are quite unfamiliar with what really the scope of ChatGPT or Lambda or any of the other Bard for what Google's calling it now, and Microsoft's use of ChatGPT and so forth. Um, we're not familiar with the boundaries that we can ask. It's like a genie in the bottle. We don't know how much we can ask. Can you create this? Can you do this? And people are beginning to explore those functionalities and value propositions. Um, Already these lists, these prompt lists of this is what you can ask GPT, this is what you can ask GPT. The videos are already producing, and they're fascinating what people are trying to do with them. Um, Making AI talk to other AI principles. Like I told you, we've talked about tools that create imaging and videography and so forth. Having AI write a description of what you want in an image in a way that then can be given to another AI to do it, if that AI that you use didn't create it itself. And it's actually getting very robust. I watched just recently a movie that was produced, supposedly. I'm saying this only from the aspect, I don't know the person that originated it, but I saw the context of the movie that was generated using AI for the production of the voiceovers, production of the imaging and the videography of it, and creating a storyline. It was fascinating. And other prompt lists that I'm seeing on YouTube, and we'll share a couple of them in the show notes to give you some sense of what we're referring to. Um, there's say for instance, you have a legal document, and it is hard and arduous to read a legal document because you have to follow the context of the legalese that's used to understand the parties concerned and the references to, and this will always be referred to this in the future context, so they don't have to keep saying the name over and on and on and on. And it's showing people taking those documents and slapping it into AI machine and saying, explain this to me in plain English. And it will. It'll explain to it, well, this is what this paragraph means, that if you were to take this, then you're liable responsible for this. It explains stuff. And it also, in reverse, you can make it say, I need a legal document that is covering this relationship I want to create legally. And it'll create a legal document for it. I mean, we're talking about it passing the bar exam. It actually can produce what usually people from the bar exam, that pass it can create, docs and torts and things like this. So that's one fascination. Say, for instance, there's a very long piece of content, maybe on your website, and I don't have time to read it. I'm there because I'm interested in what it is, but I don't have the time to read the whole thing. You can literally take the link, throw it into uh, an AI like ChatGPT, and say, "Tell me to give me the highlights in 2 sentences, 3 sentences, 1 sentence," and it will literally give you the paraphrasing of the content and the limitations that you've provided it, which makes it fascinating. How this is be careful what you ask for versus what you get. If you make it too brief, you may not get the full context of the content, and if you make it too long, you're not really helping yourself. So that fine point of how many sentences does it create is also a function that you can create within ChatGPT itself, um, or Bard, where you can go over and say, give me a concise refer of the data in the format or the length necessary to include all aspects. And it'll come back. You can give it a link to a video and say, I don't want to watch this video. Tell me, recap the video for me. And it will watch the whole video and recap the video as to what the video was messaging, what it was saying, what are the highlights of it. 100-page documents can be surmised, single-page websites. So when I'm bringing all these examples, I was not to impress you with all the things that are out there for prompt lists and so forth, as the idea that the usage of AI is fundamentally changing the way we're going to be gathering data. If I'm going to be going on a trip, as much as I'm doing right now, and I wanted to know what I wanted to do or where I wanted to stay, the very idea that you can create the AI engagement with you in such a way that it will look for and find what it is you're looking for. If I'm looking for websites of a hotel, and I say, ChatGPT looking for hotels XYZ location, must have a hairdryer, and I have the following hotels, or once the hotels are found, do they have a hairdryer? It just saved me from going into every website and looking for the amenities list to see if it had a hairdryer. It could tell you that these hotels have hairdryers, those don't. Boom! All of a sudden, I've never looked at the website. We were lamenting the fact of Google Zero, where its answer box was there ahead of everything else that it was allowing to be seen, from organic to paid to organic and everything else, and Google was trying to fill this gap of saying, why are you looking for this? Maybe these questions will answer what you're looking for, and based on what you interacted with, the questions and the answers changed. Now you have AI that is ahead of that, where as you begin to work with the AI, it can emulate what it is that you're looking to do. And that's a very dangerous personalization, because biasness then turns into results. The information becomes only what it is you want, because that's the purpose of the AI's engagement with you. And so, therefore, what we see in social media, that echo bubble of reinforcement of our warped perspectives and validation of our perspective being correct, because that's all we're seeing around us, is now going to be pervasive in how we get data. And that's very scary. Not getting onto the philosophical wanings of all this, trying to stick more with how it impacts our business. What I'm thinking is the very soon near world of ours is all of our website content will be surmised. Someone's not going to look at our website and navigate through. We're not going to have the benefit of the data of this person came into my accommodations page and looked at my photo gallery, and then looked at my events page, and then looked at my special offer, and then engaged with me on social, and then saw an ad that I had about an event, and then came back to my website or looked at an OTA. We're going to have AI handle our engagement on a tremendous amount of this. If rather than having to go to 40 some odd websites, that is the current standard of what people, from surveys and reviews of people that use for travel destination, travel planning, okay, in our industry. But they're just going to talk to AI going, look, thinking about going to New York. I'm off third week of March. And I'm actually surmising, because a lot of this stuff also may be also known by the AI as the assistant functionality builds. I'm going to take a vacation in March. Oh, well, you might want to go to this part because of these things happening. And, these are the hotels you should consider. And I know you're economical, and these are the best prices, and they have the hair dryers you like using. Making that one up. Um, and all of a sudden, you didn't do what we as marketers expected you to always have done. Just as cars being introduced horses, we expected, well, how are those cars, those noisy, darn, smuggly things, going to be working around my horses? And they better get out of my way because I'm the established norm. This is what I do. My horse goes this way on my carriage, and I carry this load to that place. And cars are, that they're in my way. And poof, next thing you know, nope. Horses are gone, carriages are gone, cars are now trucks, and the world has changed. And that's what we're experiencing right now with the AI integration to our society. Um, with it comes the caveats, and I'm going to say this, that Tim Peter is the one that quoted it from someone else. I don't remember who the someone else is, so I'm saying this is Tim Peter quote. When you built the ship, you built the shipwreck. We're also going to create a very narrow cast perspective. It'll be very hard as we move forward to get in front of people if what they're interested in isn't directly related to us. If we think we're kind of what they want, we may not get that chance to express that interest, the off the beaten path, the not exactly what you're accustomed to, but really worth something you're interested in doing. That narrow casting that AI might create in our discovery process is a profound concern on my part, because no matter how good my website, no matter how good my advertising, no matter how good my strategy of filtering and engagement and content and product is, if it isn't into the cultured vein of interest of the user that AI is engaging with, AI will not represent me in front of that user. I may not get that chance. It reminds me akin to going backwards in time. When we didn't have this multiplicities of channel communication where radio, TV, newspapers, magazines, billboards, um, hotel guides were the only mediums that were available to get in front of other people. Unless one of your guests brought back a rate card to their friends, the word of mouth of, I stayed at this hotel, grabbed some rate cards, and then shared this with my friends when I went back home. I was only limited to whether I could afford national TV, which was a shotgun of very expensive. See everybody sees you, whether they're interested in you or not. Into radio, which was very much a very competitive cost of like, well, hey, we're the only radio station in this market. If you want to get to our people that listen to us, this is what you have to pay. It was very controlled. Magazines, well, magazines were based on categories of interest, and to get space in those. Newspapers were, again, same thing. National newspaper, my goodness, I mean, there was very few things nationally advertised in national newspapers. The newspapers themselves were distributed into regions, and those regions had the highlighted marketing that was sold to their region. Nobody wants to know about a furniture store in Florida when you live in Oregon, unless they deliver. Um, Billboards, interacting with the guests as they get into your physicality of the location of your hotel, or for them to make a decision process of turn here, go 5 miles. We're on the right-hand side, the alligator farm, can't miss it. This is akin to what I think AI is going to potentially have as an impact. Unless we are very much about what the user is interested in, we're not going to be showing up in what AI represents to them when they are looking for things that we might be potentially an option for as a destination value or what have you. And that's very scary, because that means the prices of that engagement, that being that one thing that the AI refers to, being in that context of data that's shared with the user based on the qualifications they've outlined in their query, is very diminishing. We're so used to these past 20 years. Now I say 25 years. Since about 1997, 1998. Of being able to talk to people on multiple channels. Now we're going to get people where, unless we're already connected to them, we won't get the chance to talk to them. And unless we're very much about specifically what the person is looking for, we might not get the chance to represent ourselves as an option for them. That's the concern I have about this bandwagon AI at this point, where people are jumping onto it. And again, my negativity to the bandwagon concept is everybody's throwing it into their presentation like they did crypto or blockchain or AR or a VR or augmented reality, or it's just buzzwords. I see this all over the place. Everybody's like, how is AI affecting your business? The 5 things you must do with AI. AI's tools and usages, and everybody's trying to act like they're an expert on AI. Nobody's an expert on AI. Even the people that built AI are not experts on AI. I do find it fun that the iteration of prompt lists, which are what's out there right now, is very reminiscent when the websites, late 90s, started coming on. There was no Google, there was no indexing of websites unless you actually knew the address of the website, www.whatever.com. You couldn't find it. You actually had to type it. It's like back in the days with an old map where you were looking for an address. You had to go actually know what the address was to look at it on the map to see where you were going. Well, this is what's very reminiscent of these prompt lists that are with AI right now. It's like a book saying, "Hey, you want AI to figure out how to uh, do this or do that, or answer your question, or summarize this, or whatever? Ask it this question." That's what that's what these right now is. That's the new thing right now. The bandwagon thing of, oh well, here's a list of things you can ask AI. I'm finding them every day. I found the latest one, which was spooky, scary, helpful. And that was, you could take a video of your problem. Say, for instance, my phone, the plug isn't working. So I take a video of, okay, my plug on my iPhone 12 looks like it's got something in it, but it's not working. Take that video and give it to AI, say, well, how do I fix this? And it will go find information about how to fix the apparent problem that you videoed. Insane. So now all of a sudden, it's not about preemptively making videos about helpful. I mean, if you've never used YouTube to repair things, then you're missing out on a huge thing. There's literally somebody somewhere that has videoed repairing whatever it is that you want to repair, or videoing how to do something that you wanted to do. It's a wonderful world in that sense, the diversity of the content that's out there. My concern is that the AI is going to narrowcast that down to, unless you ask the right question, you won't get the answer that's most related to it. AI can also go over and begin to emulate people. They give the example of Snoop Dogg or Oprah Winfrey or Abraham Lincoln, where the AI will actually emulate the personality of how they understand the character in its responses to you, how it communicates with you. You can actually give it things that you've written, and it will then write for you in the way that it understands the way you write for yourself. So you can have it write responses and emails in the tense and the vernacular and the level of humor or seriousness or whatever it is, like you write those emails and so forth. So it can actually be you. You're actually making an avatar of you, a digital you, as to how it answers stuff. And these are all novelty right now, but it's scary, the novelty transitioning into something else. And that's my concern. We're looking at AI right now as, how is it going to fit into what we're doing? How is AI going to help me get more guests to my hotel via my website, via my advertising? Little do we know, like the car was to the horse-drawn wagon, that it's not about going to our website anymore. It's not about seeing our advertisement. It's about something entirely different as to how people use AI. That's not about its infusion into the traditional way that we communicate, but rather a complete replacement of how we communicate. That's the dangerous part. And again, I don't want to be a part of the very thing I'm condemning right now by being on the bandwagon. I'm not trying to push the AI conversation. AI right now in our conversations is about, how is it being used and how can you use it for your marketing, for your hospitality. These things are accelerating faster. Again, I'll quote Tim Peter out of Conversations Day, as well as Edward St. Onge, Robert Cole, Stuart Butler. We all have had these conversations on the show before. We underestimate the acceleration of short term and overestimate the long term. We talk about, oh, AI, that's 10 years out. And then circumstances that were unknown to us in those decision processes have taken AI from being a 2030, 2035 idea that'll be a part of our lives to a very real 2023, 2024, 2025 reality. So to that end, we always underestimate and overestimate depending upon this time scale that we anticipate these integrations of our society to be. The interesting part of what AI is, it can be a great equalizer. Consider the fact that AI being made available into a lesser uh, protected part of the world, third world is referencing, but they have the access to the resources of the data of AI. And now being able to ask a more Oracle-based data source rather than the having to figure out to find what needs to be found or having accessibility to it creates a whole new ability for equality and also disparity. Because now the barriers to keeping people from over creating evil things now break down. Again, not trying to get existential, about the impact of AI, but there is a very real change to our society based on the usages of AI. The biasness that still exists in it, the uncertainty of its actual pure purpose of use, um, the influence on its change on how we as a society work. If we become reliant on AI to basically facilitate all the things we're either too lazy or not uneducated enough to do, then that turns into our point of truth. AI, if it tells us that it's going to rain that day, we believe it will rain that day because AI has no reason in our minds to be telling us that it shouldn't, which means that if it tells us other biases, then we believe them to be based in enough truth for it to be referred to. And as I've said many times on the show, truth and authenticity are not components of the AI's database. Truth and authenticity is based on the human interaction of the data presented by AI and its interpretation as to both of those factors. So, again, not to get waning philosophical on the conversation, but AI is going to change how we create the modality. Right now, in that transitional process, as we'll cover with our podcast, we'll get into tools that have AI functionality in them to accelerate your SEO optimization, your content development, your CRM engagement content, your actual flow of engagement for advertisement, in addition to your site's SEO and optimization of its content, its ability to search out and find competitors and their functionalities compared to yours. AI is a really cool shortcut tool for all that right now. Um, and to be aware of what they can be used for up to the point where the next iteration, which will be coming up very soon, ChatGPT 4 is already rolling out in API form for people that are paying for it. Bard will become more available other than the beta test that it's rolling out from Google. And you're going to see even more with the ChatGPT 5 afterwards. I think one of the ideas was ChatGPT 3.5 could pass the bar exam barely. ChatGPT 4 could pass the bar exam well. ChatGPT 5 will pass the bar exam perfectly. Kind of like what computers did with chess. Like they sometimes won, they mostly won, they all the time won. The strategy component is there. Well, we're seeing AI develop at that pace right now that answers that were hard to explain, images that you created where I want this image with this and this influenced by this artist rendering types. You would notice that it was AI because it was a little somewhat distorted in some things or not realistic in others. That's going to go away. We're not going to know if a rich media image was created by a person or AI within this year. We're not going to know about video being created uh, with AI and with human intervention. I still think will be a part of that process because that's still one of the largest things to tackle for AI. But content writing will become almost impossible without AI helping us to know whether AI wrote something. Uh, we're going to see that all too soon. We're going to see personal assistants where, phones and displays and so forth might turn into a voice talking in our ear. The buds that just simply give you instances and direction that you're giving it the information it needs to give you the information you want. So some crazy stuff. And again, I'm not trying to portend the future about it other than to deal with the realities that we have now. We have AI infused tools that are incredibly helpful, but I would be the caveat of um this whole bandwagon of everybody trying to tell you their perspective of AI, and by throwing it into their header of their title of their article or presentation or webinar is to solicit your attendance. When really that conversation about AI is a 2-second brief of using the words and the letters, and they go back to the things they're trying to pitch and sell later. And nobody truly, I've not come across anybody yet that's discussed at any granular detail better than what we've already done. The usages of particular tools when it comes to AI and its functional value and purpose. We have some show and tell people that are out there that are, AI and you, what to do with it. Be wary of that and get very granular as to what exactly they're saying AI is by definition, and how they and what they are using AI in, that definition holds true. A lot of the tools out there are more advanced machine learning than they are actually AI. But that being said, we've sifted the wheat from the chaff, and we'll be talking about AI functioning tools. And that'll be in our podcast later today. And we'll also recap the show here as well. So there you have it. Show number 400 from Hoofddorp in the Netherlands. Uh, my name is Loren Gray. I thank you for the privilege of your time and look forward to talking to you all next week.